Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Oh my goodness, it's your girl Mbuke here. I'm back with another special video, and guess what? I am a mom. As you can see by the title down below, we're getting straight into the story time. I'm going to be telling you guys my birth story, not just any simple birth story, my traumatizing birth story. You heard that. I was traumatized. I am still traumatized, but when I look at my little baby, it was all worth it. However, this was a traumatizing experience. So sit back, grab your tea, your coffee, your ice cream, your popcorn. In fact, if you're like me, grab your malt and let's get straight into this story time. Okay, where do I even begin? I'm going to start from the very beginning. It all started when Ormuka got pregnant, and she made it all the way to 32 weeks. If you have never been pregnant before, there are 3 trimesters, obviously 1, 2, 3. But so you have your first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester, which is your final trimester before the 4th trimester, which is when you have a newborn baby, you're healing and all that stuff. So basically, I was in my 3rd trimester. I was 32 weeks. The full term for carrying a baby is 40 weeks, and I was 32 weeks. So I still had pretty much a long way to go. So when you're pregnant, you go through all those things. You start adding weight, you start retaining water and fluid in your body, and this is what happened to me. As you saw in one of my previous videos, I spoke about how my feet were getting swollen. So actually from 31 weeks, I started having swelling in my feet, which I had put in one of my videos, like some of the things about pregnancy that I wish I knew. My feet were really swollen, and it was just not going down. Even when I would massage it, like when Reggie would massage my feet, when I would stay off my feet, it wasn't really going down. We all chalked it up to normal pregnancy things. So when you get to your 3rd trimester, you start going to you start having appointments every 2 weeks, and then every 1 week, and then till the baby comes. So basically, I had my appointment, my 32-week appointment, and it was on a Friday. I went in for my appointment. I spoke to my doctor. I was like I am so out of breath all the time. You know, my feet are swollen, and I just feel so tired all the time. When you hear those symptoms, you're just like, oh, that's basically every pregnant woman at the end of, towards the end of pregnancy. But mind you, I was 32 weeks at this time, ending my 32 weeks. And this is normal, but at the same time, it's kind of still a bit soon since it's like 32 weeks, I still had all the way till 40 weeks to go. So she was like, yeah, this is just literally pregnancy. That's how pregnancy is. That is pregnancy, And I was just like, okay, it's pregnancy. When I had spoke to my mom, my mother-in-law, my friends that have been pregnant, my friends that were pregnant together with me, everyone said, yeah, I'm experiencing that too. It's just pregnancy. That's what I thought, right? Like just pregnancy. So fast forward to 4 days after my appointment. So it was Friday that I went for my appointment, Saturday, Sunday, and then it was now Monday. So Monday comes, right? We had like an AT&T guy come, we changed our phones, do all of that stuff. And I was feeling really, really just not myself. In the beginning of my 31st week, I had stopped going to the gym. So now I'm in my 33rd week, right? And I was just like, oh, I had my rest time. Like, I was not pushing myself to go to the gym all the time. But I am an active person, or I try to be active, and working out helped me, mentally too, to just relieve some stress and everything, or anxiety towards this whole process of having a baby and having to deliver the baby. So being that I could not even work out anymore, it was like I just wanted to figure out what was going on with me. Why am I so out of breath? Why am I always tired? Why can't I even walk from my bedroom to the living room without, feeling like I'm going to pass out? So what had happened was I started having like shortness of breath, which was really, really bad. Even in one of my videos, you can see like I'm like, and then I was having swollen feet that were not going down to the point that my legs were getting swollen. My hands started swelling, my face was swelling. It's no joke. I have footage, so I'm going to insert clips of how I was, how swollen I was. So I was talking to my sis and I was just like, oh, hey sis, you know, this is what I'm experiencing. Did you experience this when you were pregnant with your first and everything? And she was like, oh, I did experience this, but I need, you know, check this, blah, 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 all that stuff. So we were talking and everything about the symptoms I was experiencing, which were, I literally, the room would start spinning and I would literally collapse to the floor. That was one. So I didn't have headaches, but the room would be spinning. My feet were really swollen to the point where if you press my foot like this, like my ankle, you will see the dent of my finger. Then what else? Like I was seeing stars. What else? I was out of breath, not like, oh, I'm so tired. Like literally, I can't walk anymore. So after all these symptoms we were talking about and everything, and we had just changed our phone, the AT&T guy came to our house and we got new phones and stuff. I was telling Reggie like, oh, we will go to the mall, you know, I just need to walk. Like I've not worked out in about 2 weeks. I need to at least walk and stuff. And he was like, you know, maybe you should just rest because you're always out of breath and everything. And we don't want you to be too, you know, stressed and everything. So before we even left the house, right, I was talking to my sister and telling her all the stuff I'm experiencing, plus my own research, my Google and YouTube research of like some of the stuff I was experiencing, those symptoms I had mentioned. I typed them into YouTube. It said preeclampsia. I was like, God forbid, not my portion, not my portion, not my portion, right? You know, and then I'm researching more stuff and I asked her like her experience and she was like, not to alarm you or anything, but I think you should call your doctor. You know, so I called my doctor and everything and they're like, oh, just come in, we're just gonna do a quick check, blood pressure, blah blah blah, and then you'll be fine. And before I went, right, my sis had told me, go and weigh yourself. If you remember your weights from before, see if you're retaining so much fluid where it's like you're adding on weight. I go and step on the scale and I had gained 7 pounds in 4 days. To some people it might not sound a lot, but it's a lot because in pregnancy, especially the last couple of weeks, I had 7 weeks left. So I had gained all of the remaining pregnancy weight in 4 days. That's a lot because if I'm supposed to be gaining for me and the baby and I gained all of it, that's drastic. After that, I was like, oh, I gained 7 pounds. That's really crazy. You know, my scale might be off, but that's a lot. So when I had mentioned that on the phone to the nurse, they were like, okay, yeah, I think you should come in. We're just going to check you and everything. I wasn't thinking much of it. We still wanted to go to the mall. So I told Reggie, we're just going to go to the mall first, get our phone cases, do whatever, and then go to the hospital. But we got to the mall. I couldn't even walk from where my car, like where we parked our car, to the door of the mall, let alone walking the entire mall to find a nice phone case. So we were like, you know what, whatever. AT&T is open till about 8 or 9. So by the time we're done with my checkup, we'll go to AT&T and get our phone cases and we'll be done. Boy, was I wrong. We get to the doctor. And, you know, the nurse looked at me like, come on, girl, like, let's go, you know, because she was just thinking like, I was just over, you know, I was maybe too anxious or anything. She was just looking at it like, oh, we're just going to check you. Everything's going to be fine. You go back home. But we were wrong. Dun, dun, dun. So we get there and they weigh me and she's seen that I had gained all the weight that I was talking about on the phone. And then we go into the room, they check me and everything. And then they check my blood pressure. She didn't want to scare me or anything, but she was like, oh, okay, your blood pressure is much higher than usual, but when your doctor comes in, you know, she will tell us what the next steps are. From there, I knew that something was off. They asked me again, what were your symptoms? What were you experiencing? Did you have this? Did you have this? And I was like, oh, I was feeling dizzy. I was seeing stars. I was, as even earlier that day, like, it felt like the room was spinning and I collapsed to the ground and they were like, okay. And then she told one of the nurses, bring a wheelchair. And they're like, oh, we're just going to take you to the maternity area, to the maternity welcome center. That's where they have antepartum, postpartum, everything before you know, wherever you need to go, they'll put you in your room. So I'm just thinking to myself, okay, whatever. Maybe they just need someone like a real expert to just check and maybe prescribe medication for me and then I'll go home. But no, they take me there. I even saw like 2 ladies coming in ready to give birth. So I'm sitting here in the same place where ladies are getting ready to give birth. One of the husbands even asked me like, you ready? I'm like, oh no, I'm still 30, I was 33 weeks. I'm like, I'm still 33 weeks pregnant. That's definitely not, it's not time for me. He's like, oh, okay, you still have time. Boy, were we wrong. We were so wrong. So so after that, they give me the hospital band. And I'm thinking, like, why are they giving me this? Am I going to be admitted? They go and they put me there, like, oh, we're just going to monitor you for a few, for a few hours. And every time they check my blood pressure, it's still elevated. Every time they check my blood pressure, it's still elevated. They're like, okay, we're going to admit you and keep you overnight and then see how things are going. Then they take my blood, they draw my blood and everything. They go do the checks and everything. And then when I tell you, it felt like I opened my eyes and life was just moving like this. A whole bunch of doctors in front of me, like, oh, we had this, we did this, and this, and you have severe preeclampsia and you're going to have to be induced and deliver this baby now. I said, huh? I'm 33 weeks and I have the pregnancy app. So if the pregnancy app is saying that my baby's lungs are going to develop in 34 weeks, what are you telling me that I have to give birth now? That is a premature baby. That's a whole 7 weeks early. No, we're not doing that. And I was just like, no, it's not possible and everything. So this was now, we were in antepartum. Then they moved us to another, like, so we were in the monitoring room. Like, there's this room where they monitor people, and then another room where they're like, you're admitted for overnight stay or whatever. And then after that night, early in the morning, they moved us to labor and delivery. Like, when I tell you, we saw every floor plan of all the maternity, suites that they have. We saw every single floor plan because they kept moving us from room to room to room because my situation was just going like this, a whole roller coaster. So after that, they were like, yeah, you're going to have to be induced and everything. And I'm just thinking, like, I literally said, I'm not ready. And they said, no one is ever really ready to give. I said, no, you don't understand. In my head, I was thinking to myself, I needed to film, setting up baby's room, unboxing the registry gifts. And I said it out loud. I was like, we haven't even had our baby shower yet. I haven't done my photo shoots. I haven't done nothing. They're just like, these things happen, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Throughout my entire pregnancy, I didn't have a belly till like 7 months, 6.5 months, 7 months. And now you're telling me that I waited all this time to have a baby bump and I can't even take pictures with the bump. Luckily I did my, the video I posted on my channel, but still I was like, no, I haven't done my photo shoot. I haven't done this. The baby's room was full of gifts that were still boxed. Like, they were still in its boxes. I was like, there's no way I can be giving birth to this baby today. You're talking about inducing me? No. I had a birth plan. I had everything written out. I had talked to God about how I want to give birth to this baby. You're telling me you're inducing me, or I could have a C-section. What? Me? After I've been rubbing oil on my belly so I don't get stretch marks, now you want to intentionally give me a scar? All these crazy things were running through my mind. I was so terrified, so scared. And then, because Reggie had gone home to get to pack like a bag, just clothes, like he just went to get my toothbrush and my night cream, because we didn't think we were staying long. And then he came back and the information had changed. The news had changed to, oh, we have to induce you and everything. Like, there was so much going on. They immediately turned me, like, they were like, okay, we're gonna have to give you a steroid. They're like, okay, we're gonna have to give you a steroid shot, because since your baby's lungs haven't developed, the steroids go in to help, speed up the development of the lungs for the baby. I'm just like, oh my God, no. If you're inducing me this night, that means the steroid, I'm supposed to have 2 shots and you're only giving me 1. Like, no, please, no. So they start inducing me like early hours of Tuesday morning. So I went in for the checkup on Monday evening, like around 5 or 6 p.m. Then I was admitted. Then around early hours, like midnight till 2 a.m., that's when all this wahala and calamity was starting. And then they start the inducing process. When I tell you, I hate pills, any kind of medication. If I could open my mouth and just drop it into my stomach, I would. And literally, I kind of do that, because when I take medication, I open my mouth the widest I can and drop it like in the back of my throat, and then use water to rush it down. I don't like anything touching my tongue or being in my mouth. And then they tell me that I have to take this little pill and put it in the side of my cheek and let it dissolve. Ew. and that's supposed to help me start dilating. I don't remember what the name of that medication was, but that's to help me start dilating and everything, for them to put this Foley bulb or something. It's like a balloon that they put up your hoo-ha. and that's when you start, it's like to start, you know, expanding things and making you dilate and stuff like that. So I was just like, oh my goodness, all this information is coming at me way too fast. Like, what is going on? So as we're there, you know, when Reggie got all the information, as he came back, he just prayed over me. We were so scared. We just both looked at ourselves, and I started crying. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm not ready. Take me home. I just came for a checkup. Da, da, da. Luckily, thank God, I wore my wig that day. If not, I was just roaming the hospital looking like a mad woman. Looking like a mad woman, you know? So, like, it's crazy. I had planned on buying like a nice maternity dress, like a birthing dress or whatever it's called, to instead of wearing the hospital ones. I had so many plans, but it was just, you know, we planned, but God just says whatever his will is that's what's going to be done. So next thing, right? So next thing was, as we're there, right, we're in the labor and delivery room and everything, and we're just like, and I have footage. I'm going to be putting all the clips of all those stuff up here and stuff, and then the real clips, you'll see it in my labor and delivery or birth video itself. Like, all of that will be in the video, because I did kind of film part of my birth. But so if you guys want to see that, see me pushing and like, you will not see all my parts and my goodies and stuff, but you see like basically what's happening. But there was a person covering all of this area. So let me know in the comments if you want to see that. But yeah, so now it's time, and they give me all this stuff. They decided that Tuesday, the whole of Tuesday, they're gonna watch me and watch my blood pressure. And the way God had it, my blood pressure on Tuesday went back down. So they had kind of basically made us feel like we might have the opportunity to go back home. I won't be having this baby. I'll go home and really rush and get prepared, you know, do the baby's room. All I went to the hospital for was for them to be able to give me some kind of medication so that I will be able to go to the gym again. That's all I wanted. That was what I wanted. I did not know I was going to the hospital to spend almost 2 weeks there to come back home with the baby in the NICU. But we moved. Let's continue the story. So next thing, right, I'm there and they check my blood. They keep checking, and by this time I had magnesium. They had injected, they had put me on a magnesium drip and everything, and my blood pressure had gone down. Everything was stable. So they moved us back to antepartum. So antepartum, antenatal, whatever it's called. They moved us back to an antepartum room, and they were monitoring us. So the whole of Tuesday, they monitored me in labor and delivery. When they saw I was not giving birth yet, they moved me back to antepartum. Wednesday, I was there the whole time. But for some reason, when Wednesday came, so by this time I already got the 2 steroid shots. But Wednesday came, and I don't know if I was just anxious or overexcited to go back home, or thinking that I was going to go back home. My blood pressure went back up. And it was really bad. It was really elevated. My legs had gotten so swollen all the way up to like almost to my knees. So they had put these squeezy things on my legs, and they had explained to me that the reason why I'm wearing that squeezy thing is so that I don't get a blood clot that goes up to my heart. Imagine. And all while baby boy is in my belly, and he was chilling. He was chilling. Nothing fazed him at all. He was still fine, you know, chilling. And I was just going through it, but I said I'd rather go through it than him going through it. Anyways, after that, yeah, so after that, then came the part where they're like, oh, your blood pressure is back elevated. We're going to have to re-put everything. They put me back on the magnesium drip. They checked my blood again. And at this point, I was so swollen. Like, it's not a joke. I'm not sizing it. I'm not exaggerating. I was so swollen, like you couldn't find a vein in my body. You cannot find a vein anywhere. They had poke. Look at this scar right here. You can't see it on the camera, but I have a big scar right here from my drip because they couldn't find anywhere to poke anything. I was so swollen. And then they had to take my blood, and they checked like all my blood, whatever, was so low. And they were so worried because obviously with me having sickle cell disease, like they were like, oh, everything else is, you know, so they were so worried, and they were trying to make sure everything is fine for me and the baby. And they were like, you know, the way things are looking, we might have to rush you and have an emergency C-section. I said, huh? The first time y'all wanted to induce me, now you're talking about you want to give me a C-section. Just induce me again. Like, let's just wait. I feel fine, you know. And then when the doctors were talking, they came back and they were like, okay, we're going to try giving you a blood transfusion. Have you had a blood transfusion before? I said yes. Luckily, my mom was on the phone, or I already had called my mom. She had told them a bit of my history, my medical history and stuff. And then they were like, okay, they're going to order a blood transfusion for me. They ordered it, which was good. It helped with all the other counts, like with all those stuff, to go back to increase, but not go back to normal. It was far from normal, but it was better than before, you know. So they started the whole induction process again late in the evening on Wednesday. So throughout Wednesday night, Thursday and Thursday daytime, I was taking that medication to help dilate me. Then on Thursday, that's when the terror began. So that thing was not only to help dilate, but I think it was also to start contractions, if I'm not mistaken. Everything was moving too fast, y'all. I do not remember the names of all these medications. I just remember my experience. So bear with me, okay? So after that, they come in and put a catheter inside me, or on top of me, or attached to me, whatever, however you put a catheter. So they put a catheter, and then they put so before they even put the catheter and the bulb thing, they had gave me my epidural, because the way everything was happening, if they didn't give me an epidural, I might have not been able to get an epidural, because with how my blood was, I don't know, with how everything was, they said that it's very easy for fluid to get into that part of my spine where they put the epidural. I don't know, but they had basically put it, and they gave me a button that I can be pressing, you know, for it when it started. The epidural basically kind of felt like it was a drip or something, like an IV fluid, because they put it and it was not, they had just gave me the test dose to make sure that my legs and stuff was numb, but when they were to start everything, that's when it will go on. And I could press it if I needed more, so that was convenient. But yeah, so what else happened? Yeah, so after that, they gave me the epidural, waited a few minutes, like 30 minutes, and then they came, put the catheter, and they started the Foley bulb or whatever. It's basically like a balloon. They put this balloon up your hoo-ha, and basically it's gonna start dilating you and expanding everything. Ugh, like, that is just terrifying. Explaining it, you should just, it's even worse going through it. So yeah, so they put the Foley bulb, and it started expanding all of the everything. It started making me dilate, plus the medication I was taking to, you know, start my contractions. So that was what happened. Thursday night, Friday was the day I was in labor and everything. Saturday still in labor, and then Sunday I gave birth to my sweet boy. But honestly, the reason I'm not telling the birth part of this story is because I don't want this video to be too long. I wanted to tell you the traumatizing part that led to the birth. So if you want to see the part of the birth, you know, I'm still going to tell the story whether anyone comments or not, but comment down below if you want to see that story. But yeah, so that's what led to that. And basically, that's when that whole other part starts. Whew, it was it was a lot, but we made it through. It was traumatizing and it was scary, but that was my experience of how that led up to the birth of my child. That led up to the birth of my sweet boy. And if you're interested, stay tuned for basically part 2, and I'll tell you about the the actual delivery process. That was another story. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. Next week I'm going to be posting the continuation of this video of how my labor and delivery went. All right, stay blessed and not stressed. And I'm your girl Amuka, and see you next week. Cheers.